So, I just left off of, last time I left off it was the stain art, with Deku being a target for other villain organizations. And all that. But, this is whenever Deku, but yeah, that's when he would go back to 1A, or UA, I mean, but he is part of 1A, but yeah, with nobody really talking about sustain art anymore, and all that, and the test tapping. The testing, Deku would get first in the race, but Deku versus All Might. Deku will amped up his quirk's power to 30% in the arms, 35% in the legs. So he has gained 5% in all. Why is there always these? But, yeah. So, Deku would have, of course, started fighting with, or he would have his weapons and all that. Bakugo still didn't like Deku, so he'd be like, quiet, you son of a villain, and all that. Not really phasing Deku, but it still makes him mad. But he says, whatever, you can get your ass beat whenever you fight All Might. Because he's pissed off, so he flicks him off and tells him to fuck off. And that's whenever Bakugo gets fucking crippled over here. And if you guys wonder if I'm cussing so much, but compared to, I only cussed like once in one video, but I'm a little pissed off, but yeah. I'm not gonna make like a whole video on it about me being pissed off. But I'm a pretty chill person compared to most. I don't over here like, oh my god, you're a goddamn asshole. But yeah. But he would, yeah, Bakugo would get fucking crippled by a reverse smash. I totally forgot the name for it, but I think it was, no, Oklahoma Smash was 2 karate chops. But All Might would throw some punches at Deku, with Deku dodging. And Deku blood cowling he's much, that pushes his body to its limits, so he would be more like a 50% Deku and blood cowling, but he would activate it with his blood going outside his gauntlets. Him saying, I'm taking you down, All Might. Activating Black Whip. And the Black Whip would turn red, turning into Blood Whip, pretty much. From his blood cowling. Or blood calling. Wow, I keep on saying cowling, but that's whenever he would create like 5 bullets, smacking them with his Black Whip, hitting them, creating the shotgun effect. And this would hit all the buildings, bloating them like fucking tomatoes, smashing them, which would hit All Might, but All Might would try to punch them away with 100%. But because this is a combined abilities of 2 50% smash, and Deku's smashes are stronger, I usually make Deku's like 10% stronger than Prime All Might. Because like All Might, without his Prime, he can blow up a mountain. And we know he's like 60 times stronger. But in this one, I'll say he's 80 times stronger than that. Deku at 100%. So he's like 20 more, he's like 70% smashes compared to All Might. Wait, if Deku's One For All is stronger than Prime All Might's, and All Might at his not Prime, where he's like 60 divided from his Prime, would his smashes technically be stronger? I would say yeah. So they would overpower him. And that's like, yeah, because that is true. Because if we take his actual thing that he said in the USJ literally, where it takes me like 300 mighty smashes back in my prime, it only took 5 or something like that. I forgot, but it was like 60 times or 60 times his prime. So would Deku be technically way stronger? But yeah. So yeah, so he would smash through his attacks. And it would hitting him, making him bleed, increasing his strength of his blood cowling. Let me explain. Every time more blood gets added to his blood cowling, he gets stronger. And he would run at All Might, catching up, taking his fingertips and stabbing into him. And that's whenever he pulled them out with vials of blood and drank one. And I said this in one video, but I think Deku's One For All, his 100%, quote unquote, is actually not his 100%. The 100% that we've seen him use at the beginning was way weaker than him versus Overhaul. So, when I say 100% from now on, I mean him versus Overhaul. So, you mean like freaking God mode, I called it. Or One Punch Man Deku. Because did you see that scene in the anime where he threw punches and it showed up flaming punches like One Punch Man? Yeah, and his eyes turned like white and he was smiling. That also reminds me of Mob Psycho. Or Psychic, or I think it was Psycho. And that was made by the One Punch Man creators too. So I think they were going for like that type of power, and he was kind of just overpowering Overhaul the whole time. No match over here, like he was beating up him and all that. But yeah, so Deku would smash through All Might and would take him down, and he would wrap him up. He would win that battle, and that's when they get told about the whole camp and told them to get ready. They would plan the whole pool thing with everybody going and all that, and they would have the race, which Deku would get first. I was to say the race, but whenever it's the last one, people are saying that Deku is just gonna win, which would make Bakugo mad. So he would supercharge his explosions to blast off faster than he did. And Todoroki would get ready with his fire to hover this time instead of using the ice. Which people see that they're using their quirks differently than they did. Because Bakugo is just using normal explosions, not his plasma explosions, I'll call them from now on. And Todoroki was using his ice. So, when they start, they would jump off with them speeding, with Deku landing first, Bakugo and Todoroki getting tied but their quirks were shut off. So what happened was that Deku recorded with his own strength, and Bakugo and them would smash into the wall of the pool. Or they would smash into the fences because how fast they were going. And they couldn't keep their momentum, and how they steadied it because of Eraserhead racing their quirks. But yeah, tell them to leave, and after this they would talk about going to the mall to grab stuff. And whenever they go there, Shigaraki would come out the corner, grabbing Deku's neck. Deku knowing his quirk, so he would stand still, but he won't be afraid. That's whenever Shigaraki would be like, little stain. He would call him with Naruto, or with Deku saying, just call me Deku. He would ask, what does your father do different than me to make people follow him? That's whenever Deku would say guts. And he would ask, guts, what do you mean? Deku would explain that his ideas were way different than you. He killed people for a reason, but you guys just killed them for no reason. But the way that he wanted to execute his plan was wrong. And I don't get why he did it, because he always pushed me as a kid to become a hero. To be number one. With Deku asking him a question, and he would ask, you know what one for all is? With Shigaraki hearing this, he's like, no way. Because he would say, yes, of course, it's All Might's power. Say that I am his successor. Swing it around. Kicking him in the chest, send him back, and would say that I'll never become a villain. With him going to strike him with, I'll say, a knife on him. Almost getting cut on, but this one, a portal would come and he would put away his knife. So after this, they would call the police. The police would come and would ask some questions. During asking questions, Deku would have explained the whole situation about them trying to recruit me because my father was staying. Which I'll say only the police knows about all this because they didn't make it public to ruin his name and all that. Where people don't look down on him. So only a few people from the people from the police force would know it. And the UA, or only Class 1A would know about it. And all that. But after this whole event, I'll just skip to the whole thing in the forest with the golems would happen, but Deku would be faster and stronger, which I'll ump up his power to 40 in the, or 35 in the arms and 40 in the legs, which almost makes his power to 50%, but not yet. That's his base form, but blood counting, his legs are 80 and his fists are like pretty much double his strength and all that. So yeah, so he would run through smashing these things, smashing all of them, and they made them a little stronger because they have been told that Deku is strong enough to beat All Might. So they would have 4 giant ones that can tower above all the trees a lot higher. I'll say as tall as a 4-story building. And they would appear from the ground, and they would swing at him. With Deku swinging a punch, and this punch would shoot at him, hitting it, splitting with wind, breaking its arm. With Deku jumping up there, saying airstrike, flicking, hitting it in the head 4 times with it breaking the head, just taking it down. Or I'll say its head is just like a figure, like a token, nothing really, like its head controls it. But this is when he would jump down, punching a rock, destroying it. And he has to do this routine with 3 other ones after that one. And they would make it to the area. Now, the whole training, Deku would just be put through calisthenics, which are just like push-ups and all that. It's practically what Asta did with no weights on. But that's whenever they come up with the idea of weighted clothing for him. So that's whenever they would put on leg weights and all that, which I'll say each one are 50 pounds. So it'll be more than, Goku's training, because like they couldn't get that strong from just wearing 50-pound weights. Goku and Krillin. Just telling you that the training that they did, even 100 pounds wouldn't make them that strong. So yeah, they kind of blew out his strength out of proportion, Goku. Since 40 weights, or 50 on arm, so 200, and on the chest I'll say is 100. So he has 300 pounds on him. And he's been told to run around in this and do push-ups, which would give Ida the same idea. But what also Ida comes up is that he can't go into third gear, he can only stay in first gear the whole time, building up stamina. Building up stamina and speed at the same time to increase his regular or his beginning speed to make his fastest speeds faster. Which he wouldn't do push-ups and all that, he would just run the whole time. Which he would be, Deku would have been, they would be about the same speed. So I was saying this whole training, they've been just racing with these on. Because of Ida only being in the first gear, so Deku would be faster because of that. And all that. I'm just gonna make this a long episode, but yeah. During this training, he would even sleep in these clothes, or Deku would, getting up and stretching. Wearing these clothes, he would be building up a lot more muscle than normal, or faster. Saying that I should have did this training earlier. And all that. They'll be running, and I'll say by now, Ida is around a normal speed, like a normal high schooler speed, and so is Deku. Because Deku is not just doing running, he's actually doing like sit-ups, using leg workouts and everything. So that would make him keep up with Ida's speed. And his strength would go up quite a bit. That's whenever it's the time for them to, the last day at training camp, they would be told to take off their weights to chill out. And when they take off their weights, Deku would jump. Jumping 100 feet in the air. Just kidding, I'm not doing a Dragon Ball over here. But he would actually jump, being able to jump high enough to jump on top of a building, or like one of those buildings that Sane parkoured up, but instead of that, he jumps all the way on top of it without any struggle. With Ida being able to jump the same height. I'm just kidding, they can't jump that high. Or should I make it that high? Because I know Sane can jump like, I made him double the strength of Sane normally, and he can jump like a quarter of a building, double that. I'll say, yeah, I guess they could jump that high. Ida would be able to jump, and with this jumping, he creates a move called, he would be able to jump, and he would be able to learn how to use parkour with his engines, making his movements easier. But yeah, so Deku and Uraraka would be walking through the forest. There's some knife coming out of the forest, trying to hit Uraraka, with Deku, or with Uraraka grabbing it, throwing it back. Cutting, Toga being surprised, and say, so you guys, you're heroes, but you still know how to use weapons. And all that with, Uraraka not really saying much, but she would say, because Stain taught me how to use them. She would say, so you were trained by Stain? Ooh, that's surprising, oh no. With her seeing Deku saying, it's you, Stain's son, right? Going up to him, stammering him, but Deku's not just ready to smack a girl in the face for no reason just by examining them. She would ask, what's your quirk? Deku would say a manipulation quirk with a blood paralyzation quirk. Mixture of my father and my mother's quirk. She'd be, ooh, that's surprising. He would ask what her quirk is. She would say it's blood transformation, saying that I have to drink blood to transform into people. Deku would say, is that it? So you can't copy people's quirks if you're copying every aspect of them. She would stand there for a moment, wondering if she can do that. She would just be like, I never tried to, and all that. And she would ask if I could take some of your blood. He would say no. I sometimes use that for my quirk, so I might need it. She just says, I just need a little, so can I take this girl, swinging her needle at Uraraka, with Uraraka taking out a knife, smacking the glass part of it, breaking it, and going to cut her, slashing her cheek, cutting her. For sure, she's saying, is that it? You're pretty quick, Uraraka says, and that's whenever the cut would spread open more, with Deku saying that, now I have you where I want you. She would turn to Deku saying, how did you do that? He would just say that I just used your own blood to cut you. With she seeing blood appearing on his fingertips in like a blade form, or in a circular motion, saying this is your own blood, flicking it at her, with it being so small that you can barely see it, and it would pierce her in the shoulder, or in the finger, or in the hand, going straight through it. But yeah, so they would kind of battle with, I'll say, Toga being taken down by Uraraka and all that, because Uraraka has weapons on her, and because Toga is fast, as we can see, and all that, and she can do parkour. So she would have been taken down by Uraraka, because Uraraka had a quirk that could float her. So she would be trapped. Deku would be told to look for Koda, with him running, going to his spot. And if he gets there, he'll see Muscular try to punch Koda, with Deku saying airstrike, flicking 4 times. I'll say he can only do 4 flicks at one shot at a time, and then he has to focus harder the flick again. Or I'll just say he uses 4 fingers, so he can only shoot 4 of them at a time. But yeah, that would knock back his hands, hitting him in the chest and sending him back. Then looking up, seeing Deku. Deku is seeing his new limits of him training. So they'd be fighting with Muscular going full muscle form, attacking Deku, with Deku grabbing him by the arm, and he would stick his hand into his muscles, cutting a part of them off, reaching in with the other hand, and clenching his fist, stabbing into him, taking vials of blood. That's whenever Deku would take out one, popping it open, drinking it, with him being confused because he only seen him manipulate blood, not drink it, like Stain. And he's like, oh, he must have Stain's squirt gun to grab it. But that's when Fate would drop. And his time for this time would be around, I'll say 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Deku picking him up, grabbing, what's his name? Koda, and jumping off, running towards the Pussycats. And going to pop one of them. Pop, pop, pop. He would get there and would put Muscular down. But with Toga and all this, he would tell them about Bakugo, and they're after me too. Them jumping off before them could say to stay behind us. He'll meet Dark Shadow, and the whole thing would go down. Bakugo would be taken with some else. Naval Laser Dude would shoot, taking down one. Deku would grab the one of them, but he would miss Bakugo because they would teleport him. That's whenever, I'll say, his name is, Muscular can't move anymore. He's paralyzed. And Toga would be taken. And what I'm about to do is gonna be pretty cool. But yeah. So he would, this is where I'll leave it off. This is kind of a long episode. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye. I'll post this one and I'll post a couple more after this. Bye.